In three,
two,
two,
one.
really now. Hey, this is Jeff and Kat. We are about to launch the podcast Miracles Online. And how we came about doing that is my lovely wife, Kat, here, wrote this incredible book about her journey that started well before her and I met over 27 years ago. So why don't you show everybody the book, Miracles Online, and through the
Finding True and Lasting Love in a Digital World.
That's right.
And yes, I was researching the book when him and I met.
Yeah. And I've been dating at that time online as well as doing personal ads and so forth for quite a while because of my busy schedule. So with that, once the internet became accessible to all of us in the late 90s, I definitely jumped on that and started to do personal ads on online dating sites. And ultimately, that's how I met Kat. Here is what happened is that we decided to document this book, and she decided to write this, but it took the whole 25 years.
Well,
can you believe it or not?
Full disclosure, there were 2 or 3 starts and stops because, well, honestly, life got in the way. But as we approached our 25th wedding anniversary, which we were blessed miraculously to be able to not only launch this book while we were in Greece, touring places where my ancestors had lived. So we launched the book while we were in Greece. And that was kind of really the impetus that put me back on track to say, this book needs to be finished to commemorate our 25th wedding anniversary, which, you know, in today's society, sadly enough, statistics are pretty high, like over 50%, I think, of divorce rates. So we're just honored I was honored to write the book. Jeff actually is in the book as well. He contributed a very sweet segment. But we feel very honored to be able to share not only what I call a GPS to successful online dating, no matter your age, if you're 18 or 80. I was a divorced mom over a particular age of 3 children. So it's never too late. Love wants you as much as you want love. And we're just hoping that, you know, our heart is that this book will help as many people as possible to really navigate, if they successfully or never done it, navigate and possibly find their miracle online. So that's kind of the heart of what this is.
Yeah. So while we were working on putting this book together, she decided to self-publish. And then one morning she said to me, hey, you know, would you be interested in doing anything with this? And I saw an opportunity to do even more than just this one book. So I created with her help on a publishing company, a publishing house here at another division of our branch of Living the Dream LLC,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's been incredible.
I want to interject here because let's just back up a little. You had actually started a book, which we're going to talk about here.
Yeah,
later.
but that wasn't really the catalyst that gave us this.
The publishing.
Yeah, the catalyst that gave us this is really Miracles Online, because again, you know, since what happened back in 2020, we all started to, I think, have somewhat of awakening in ways that we never thought that the world would become. And one of the things that we definitely have discussed many times is that with these new ideas and new awakenings and new ways of doing things, we may need to put ourselves in a position to help. And we didn't quite know exactly how to do this, but we knew that this was a path that we were interested in developing. So with that, Yayu Publishing was found, and Yayu, Y-A-Y-U, publishing.com is our website. You can go there and check out all the books that we have. But Yayu came from our family. Yayu was when our little granddaughter, the bird, Elizabeth,
aka Doodle.
Yeah. And she, you know, typical kids can't really pronunciate anything when they're like 1 year old. So instead of say, I love you, she came up with Yayu. So we did Yayu for a good year and 2 years until she was able to enunciate, I love you. But in the meantime, Yayu became very dear to all of us here in this family.
And I don't know when we came up with that for the publishing, but somehow, I look at it as a God thing because, well, really all things are a God thing if you take the time to be conscious of it. And it just came about, and we were so happy to tell her. She's almost 14 now. She can say I love you very clearly, but even to this day, so she was very touched when we told her that we named the publishing company Yayu Publishing. And to this day, when she's here couple times a week, spending the night so we can get her off to school on the bus, the last thing she says before she goes into her bedroom after she does the kisses and the I love you is Yayu.
Yeah.
Yayu both.
It's universal and around our circle.
And I think that's important, not just, so if you take away something, just that's what we want to give back is really the Yayu.
That's right.
To the many gifts and blessings that we've been bestowed with by our Creator and everything around our Creator, and we want to give back. It's time for us to give back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely true. And with the encouragement of our friend Josh Reed, to do even beyond publishing a book, but do a podcast on dating, relationship, marriage. The betterment of the family. Mm-hmm. This is what got us extremely excited, and we're going to launch Miracles Online podcast this June.
Or for short, and you'll see the logo, MOP.
MOP.
Thank you. I came up with that.
Yeah.
MOP,
well,
Miracles Online podcast.
Again, it's such a great opportunity to be able to answer questions. And we have, of course, opportunities to be able to do live streaming with Q&As down the road. We are going to take comments and then address them in future podcasts, help everyone to kind of get ideas and answers and directions on what would be a great next step when you're finding true love.
Absolutely. And in real life, whether you're in a relationship or you're looking for a relationship, navigating, the digital world, which is so phenomenal, I just implore you to, not to sell the book, but pick up the book.
Yes.
It's the best. I think it's $10 to take that fear away of, what should I do or what shouldn't I do?
That's
but
right.
As we go forth, we are going to be asking, send us in your questions. What topic would you like us to talk about, whether it's in the realm of digital online dating, for someone who's experienced or brand new, or just relationship, conflict resolution, just a lot of things, obviously, we're not doctors, we're not psychologists, but we have 25 years real life of the ups and the downs, the goods and the bads. And I always tell Jeff, what we go through, we grow through. And we've stayed together all these years and we've gone through stuff and we've grown through stuff, and we'd love to share it with you.
Yeah. And to be fair, too, is in our professional careers that we both have been in many programs in sense of training on human dynamics, in human understanding, on relationship team building, on betterment of how to organize and schedule effectively. All these things play a huge part in the success of our everyday lives.
Absolutely.
And we have incorporated that into our relationship. This is why we're doing this on the podcast aspect of it, because we come to realize that it does sometimes need to be discussed. It needs to be talked about, because individually we may both, even though think alike, have different opinions and different outcomes.
And that's what makes life so interesting.
It sure
and
does.
It's not, when stuff happens, it's not when conflict arises. It's how are you going to best respond to it? What's your next best step?
That's
None
right.
of us is perfect. We're all perfectly imperfect, or what I call wabi-sabi. And so we hope to share with you, real life stories, real life questions and answers, real life struggles, etc., in the realm of finding love and keeping love, and navigating the relationship successfully. Because the bottom line, that really is what it's all about. You can take away all the stuff, all the worldly stuff, everything outside here. And it really, I believe, distills down to we all want to be loved and love and feel loved
Absolutely.
and give love. That's what it's all about. And we all deserve that. We all deserve to be happy, to be loved, to love others, and to have joy. Not just happiness. Stuff can get us happiness for a moment, for a day, for an hour, but that true inner joy. And, credential wise, as Jeff was talking about, I think it's in one of my bios somewhere in the many decades I've been on this planet. I am a self-professed lifelong, discoverer and seeker of the human condition, of the human dynamic. And I've always valued that and treasured that to self-explore, I think who is it that talks about self-actualization? I forget that book, famous artist or author, but really reflecting inward, taking that moment, those quiet moments in between thoughts. I call them, God space. That's where the God space is, which is why it's so important for me to have my quiet time and my God space time, whether it's throughout the day, if the day is too busy. It's easy for us to find moments, whether we're driving in the car, doing dishes, tasking. There's moments that we can capture and be still. And that, coupled with breathing, I think it's been my go-to to kind of stay grounded through life's challenges.
Yep.
Basically.
And just keep in mind that once the Miracles Online podcast launches in June, we're doing multiple episodes per week. What we schedule slated to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then a Saturday episode. Hopefully we can develop Saturday into an online live stream where
that
we can
be
take
awesome.
questions and answers.
Questions. Yeah.
But in the meantime, YaYuPublishing.com, we have a button where you can go click and you can get free samples and also free workbooks and things like that. One of them is this great one sheet that we have created. It's hard to see, but it's a PDF for you. And it's 5 profile tips for women and men dating
and what
online.
The differences are between men and women, the nuances, because we've discussed before and we will reiterate it many more times. And that is, one of the most important things in successfully having online dating, a successful relationship, I believe, is that profile.
That's right.
And it starts before the profile. It starts with that inner work, with knowing thyself. And we're going to be having a small workbook come out in the near future to help actually guide you through that. If folks might, I don't know where to start. What do you mean? Go inside myself and find out what I want and what I don't want and this and that. So we're going to have a real simple workbook that will be available that you can use to guide you through, the steps of doing that. I call it the prep. It's kind of like that sanding, it's that prep work before you actually paint that really makes it all smooth and nice. The most important thing. So it's the prep work in that profile, which is so important. We're going to help you out with that.
Yeah. And I'm so excited because this is something that I think resonates deeply within us in regards to what can we do to help others. We are very pro family. We want people to have great relationships. We don't want the so-called our world turn into a situation where everybody's on a device and separated and everything becomes artificial opposed to organic of loving another human being and building a family. And
that's a whole nother topic.
That is definitely, but one of the things
challenge.
That between us and our family and what we do is that we've moved away from working for corporate America. We decided to become an entrepreneurial based company. And almost 20 years ago, we started Living the Dream Team LLC to create our own path. And we started with real estate driven type of companies. Ultimately, it developed into staging and design and then home design and things for home. And pretty soon it's things for ourselves and then things for ourselves spiritually, things for ourselves mentally. And it just kept on blossoming and growing. And of course, thank God, because he's showing us the way to be able to bring this to ourselves. And then bring it to everyone else. And this is something that just keeps me excited, inspired, fueled, because it takes us together as one to be able to thrive and inspire to each other. So, with that, Yayu Publishing, that is our goal, to be able to create and bring you books that changes lives. And one of the things, if you don't mind, Kat, let's grab that, babe.
Which one?
The first one right there.
Oh,
Fun to
okay.
be a musician.
Fun to be
This
a musician.
book is.
That's the one that, yeah, you started.
Yeah,
long
we
time ago.
did this idea. This is a little children's book. Okay. And this book was just written for the idea of getting children involved in playing music. So we have little fun pictures inside. We have little funny
So
sounds.
it's called Career Kids. It's
Career
fun
Kids.
to be a musician.
Yeah.
So if you have an aspiring youngster, grand kiddo, I call them my glam kiddos. I have 4. And they have an interest in music. This is a fun little book for what ages would you say?
Oh,
Jeff?
this is for like 1 to 3.
1 to 3,
Yeah.
maybe 1 to 5.
No,
maybe?
it's a little bit too
1 to 3.
It's
Okay.
when you're 5
5's
years old. I
kindergarten.
mean, if you had this at 5 years old, you'll think this is for babies. But at the same time, if you read this at age 3 and you have it at 5, you think this is one of the best books because it was
I think
designed
up
to be
5,
fun.
But yeah, I think
Right.
up to be 5. But
But-
especially someone who, is showing that interest in music. And I know, I've raised 3 kids and have 4 glam kiddos. That they all go through, most parents and grandparents introduce them to the little play flutes, the play pianos, et cetera, and so forth. But you can tell if they have, I think innately all young children, are just, they are musical. They see and feel the magic of music.
Yeah.
So it's great to introduce music to them.
Yeah.
It's up to them whether they, take it
especially
somewhere.
in today's world, that we find that the discipline aspect of our attention span aspect of from a child is growing shorter and shorter because they're so device and technology driven.
Yeah.
And there isn't that type of inspiration from a lot of households to sit behind a piano at age 3 and kind of pick out notes and melodies. Those are the keys to help a child develop the aptitude in science and math. This is deeply researched in UC Irvine in the year 2000. And with that, we created a film back in 2021 and 22, which is called The 13th Note. This is a film that inspires mastery, the art of mastery, and it showcased 2 prominent world-class musicians from different parts of the world. One was Dr. Yan Xin from China. She plays in the symphony over in China, as well as teaches here in University of Houston. Then we have Rusty Cooley, who is voted one of the top metal guitarists
Shredders.
in his own time. He revolutionized basically guitar lessons on YouTube when YouTube was in its infancy. So
And little note, I know you don't brag.
No, we don't talk about that.
Okay.
Because the fact is, it comes down to this. These 2 people came from far apart from each other. One's in China, one's in Houston, Texas. One's a boy, one's a girl. Came from 2 different dynamics in the world, but both were fueled by music, different instruments, and ultimately both by their desire, their passion, and their intent became master of their craft. And we put that in a film called The 13th Note. We'll have, of course, links to go to that.
It's a short film, less than 20 minutes. I was very proud to be a co-producer with Jeff on that. Was Jeff's kind of impetus and inspiration, being in the piano industry at the time. And what is really amazing, if you like any kind of music, is to see the juxtaposition between heavy metal mastery and classical piano mastery. And then, of course, a Caucasian male and an Asian young lady. So just it was really done beautifully. We're very proud of how it turned out. Won, of course, multiple awards across the world. So check that out. I think you can find it on YouTube, right? Or not?
No. It's on. It's going to be played on Redpill Project. It's going to air on Sundays, along with the new podcast that I'm hosting, which is going to be the 13th Note Art of Mastery. I've already got some in the can. We've already aired a few episodes on Sunday afternoon, early evenings. This is interview that's different. It's not about, hey, tell us about your life. It literally is how to talk to individuals who's master of their crafts and how they develop mastery and refinement to their crafts. And what's beauty about this topic is that we're not just doing it for musicians. We're doing it all over the board. Like, for instance, Joe Zeller, who is a former professional baseball player, who is the master of the knuckleball as a pitcher, who owns the Zeller Pitching Academy, did Art of Mastery and kind of explained the path of a competitive baseball family and how he was able to refine himself despite of having disadvantages going into the professional realm, being part of the Chicago Cubs. So there's opportunities like this that really enriches all of our lives to have someone to talk about how they got there, how they retain the level of excellence once they're there. The Art of Mastery podcast is Sunday on Redpill Media. Make sure you tune in, like, and subscribe. That the more time I have for developing that, the more different categories and genres. And as a matter of fact, Kat is most likely going to be on the Art of Mastery, because I've never met another person in the professional level in the sense of sales and sense of organization as an executive the way she has excelled in so-called, quote unquote, the man's world.
That was pre design and creativity and other endeavors, I assume, is what you're talking about. Yes. So I do have a pretty extensive background in corporate America. And it's funny because, it takes your significant other sometimes to see what you don't see, what you just take for granted. But he's known me for going on 27 years and seen me through the corporate America, journey, and all of my successes, et cetera. Which I take that same level, and I feel very blessed because I had such stellar training in those corporations that it really helped me dealing with people, running my business. When I did take that jump to go, yep, I'm out of corporate America, no more benefits. I'm doing it on my own, and I really think it's given me an advantage. Truly an advantage, understanding the nuances and having that sort of that kind of training, for sure. Yeah.
And I followed her footstep when I got married with her in 1998. By 1999, I had an absolute image makeover. I got into suit and tie, cut my long hair, went into professional sales and marketing, executive. I did all kind of stuff because I start to mirror her, basically, to get the type of opportunities that I didn't have previously. Yeah, but previously I was in entertainment. I was in music instrument manufacturing, so it was very different mindset, different type of industry to go into professional sales. I mean, we're talking about new home builds. We're talking about being realty sales specialists, or even at that, for me, being on the showroom floor for Steinway and Sons or Shigeru Kawai was a huge boost to be able to have the knowledge and the experience to play off and to learn from, where she came from top-notch level 500 companies. And I was, reading her training materials, and I was watching her phone conversations, and I ultimately mirrored and got myself into that realm. And ultimately, that's how I developed our own entrepreneurial path because of that. Prior to that, I was just a working stiff like everybody else, because that was just thinking that I'm going to get my bills paid, I'm going to go work, and then I'm going to have my weekend free. Once we liberated ourselves and we created our company, the first thing that we came up and understood is, hey, we can make weekends anytime we want. We can work whenever we want, and we can work as hard as we want, and we can stop whenever we want.
And entrepreneurship, of course, is not for the faint of heart. For those of you out there who have started businesses, it can be daunting. But at the end of the day, you're doing it for yourself and you're doing it your way. And so it's very, very, very rewarding. And of course, the benefits outweigh the hard work. You've heard me say today, if you love what you do, if you have a passion for what you do, you never work a day in your life.
That's right.
Yeah.
And with that, we're going to parlay to the second book on the Yahoo Publishing roster. And interestingly, this is a book about the staging, but it's a memoir and an inside deep look into that. And this came about because once we got our own path developed in entrepreneurial, Kat decided that she was going to become a staging professional, a stager and a designer. So can you just give us a brief 30 seconds of what is in staging and what is that industry about?
I don't know about 30 seconds, but I will try. Just to kind of back up a little, I actually had left new home sales, was going to get back into real estate. I had my real estate license in Southern California, but I really didn't care for the climate. And I don't mean weather climate. I didn't care for the climate there of transactional climate. So I decided to get back into real estate, and I was going to have staging be a value add, because when the market downturned in 2009, I actually approached my project manager and said, you know what? You're closing down all these model homes and you want me to sell out the vacant homes. We're competing against a lot of sizzle here. Why don't you let me stage them? And then back then, so staging is, it's marketing is what it is. It's bringing in furniture, decor, artwork, rugs, etc., so that a property can sell faster and for more money. Now, back in 2009, they did what's called vignette staging, which we don't do anymore. It doesn't really create the emotion. It doesn't really define the space when you just lean a picture up against the fireplace and put a couple of chairs and a tree. They called it vignette staging, very light staging. But basically, it's marketing in the real estate world.
It sure is
marketing.
Isn't it?
And with COVID, like many stagers, we pivoted into design. So now my business is probably 50% design. People want to up-level their sanctuaries. They're spending more time at home. Even now in 2005, many folks in corporate America have not gone back to brick and mortar, or they have part-time, but they go in a couple times a week and then they're home. So design, and then, I'm one of those that whatever I'm going to do, I want to give the best to my clients. So I have lots of advanced certifications. I'm an accredited staging professional master, lifetime master for staging. I have not one, not two, but 3 color certifications, because color is complicated. And I use that in staging and design. Again, because I want to be able to give back the best that I can to my clients. So, I do kind of go OCD on the education.
And with that behavior of her being so, into, I got to get my knowledge and I got to get everything together to present. She met Jenny, who is...
Well, I got my master with Jenny in Denver.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jenny is the
CEO
of International Association of Home Staging Professionals, the
President
largest.
of stagedhomes.com, and that's the education piece.
Well, that's the education.
That's where I got
right.
my ASP and my ASPM. Yep.
But the whole staging industry started late 70s with Barb Schwartz. She was a stage actress. She recognized that she should prep the homes that she was selling as her real estate daytime job, so to speak, right?
She was a realtor.
Yeah. So with that, Jenny came on board and helped her develop this. And ultimately, Jenny took over about 10 years ago as the head of the staging organization association. And this is the largest organization of its kind on this planet at this point. And she wrote this book with the intentions of really giving you the day-to-day grind, as well as the rewards and the creativity of it. What I really loved about it is she gives you stuff such as the insight of warehousing, how it's organized, how things become fruit, like you see here. And I'll give you better pictures.
Kind of hard to see that. So, if you like design, if you like decorating, and it is different, there's some things that cross, and many stagers turn into do design. Many designers do staging. But if you've, had an interest or you're a current stager and you're just starting out, this is a great book to give you the kind of behind the scenes, because many of us seasoned stagers who've been around for a while, we all the time get people, whether it's through a drive-through or in the store, oh my gosh, you do staging. They see the magnets.
Right.
That must be so much fun. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I'm in Houston. It's 110 degrees sometimes when I'm pulling inventory from my warehouse.
That's right.
We don't just fluff pillows in, air-conditioned homes, although that's part of it. And the end result is gorgeous. This is a great book with some real candid stories
Yep.
on the behind the scenes, if you will, as she called it, True Confessions. I think that's a great title. It's
Yeah.
True Confessions. So it's the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. And basically too is, we're very proud of this book, because this book is really coming from the top of the industry, coming to show you in regards to what this industry is about. And we're very proud that we're part of the industry, because we put our heart, blood, sweat and tears and all that good stuff into it for decades. And we became an award-winning company because of it. And this is just another
Multiple awards.
just another chapter in our lives that we've done together. And then we just kept on moving and going forward with it. And with that, we decided to move forward with developing the webcast, our podcast on Redpill Media, because we realized that the Redpill Media audience here is probably one of the most diverse and most awakened group of consciousness. We've recognized that the kind of material and the information that you've been fed through Redpill Media, decentralized media here, to be able to start to think on your own and start to formulate your thoughts. So that to me is one of the most exciting part, that I get to share and Kat get to share our intentions and our loves and our experiences with folks that can benefit, and then hopefully inspire others as well. So if you don't mind, Kat, hand me the last book. I have two versions of the book.
This one's heavy.
Yeah. And this is something that I've already started here with the Red Pill audience. This is the 365 method. I talked about this with Josh on his podcast on Conversations on the Fringe. And this was developed for self-awareness and self-refinement. There is a supplemental workbook that is being put together for this. This is a very dense book. And I initially talked with Josh and we put together the 365 Consciousness podcast to supplement and teach individual segments of the lessons. But ultimately, I felt that it would be best served if we took that opportunity and put our efforts on relationships and marriages and dating in that direction with Miracles Online. This to me was a little bit more personal for me, because of I know that I didn't want to commercialize this. I didn't want to sell this as part of a product. This is, to me, a very much of an in-depth training. It's like the upper echelon of, well, okay, I took karate in my local dojo. Now I'm going over to Bruce Lee's house, and we're going to refine with Master Bruce on martial arts. So I have that kind of intention with the 365 method in the 365 podcast. You will be able to find this at the 365method.com. I have consultation and coaching available. You can schedule that on an appointment. But I'm going to start to offer all the podcasts of the 365 Consciousness podcast on that page and that website. So it's away from our Red Pill audience, but I hope you come back. And if you like what we've done in Red Pill, come over to the 365method.com. There is also the limited edition of the book. And
that one's even heavier. But
this is even heavier because this is a hardbound book.
Yeah.
This book, it was designed to be your coffee table, your bookshelf, the book that you hang on to lifetime in your library. I really do believe this. The fundamental idea behind this book is self-refinement, and the program was written for you to participate every day for an entire year.
i.e. 365.
Yeah.
And if you read the book, the book is part of the 13th note refinement practice towards inner self mastery. But what I love about it, Jeff, and I know you started dissecting it in a workbook, is that you don't have to read the whole. You do one a day. You read one page and meditate on that. take action on that, what have you, for that particular
That's right.
message of refinement.
And you'd be amazed. Sometimes, the one page would set your day's tone.
Absolutely.
And then you'd be amazed on how certain things, the interactions, the relationships, because of that tone. With that, of course, the refinement aspect of ourselves is something that I think we tend to forget about because of life, because of if you're a parent, you're worrying about your child. If you're working on a project, you're constantly, putting your attention and your efforts into that project. Well, what about yourself? I really do believe
self-care, so important,
that we often neglect ourselves too much. And this is a way to make sure you're giving yourself proper respect, proper honor, proper refinement time every day for yourself. And that to me is extremely important. And like Kat said, from the 365 film that we created to talk about art of mastery in a podcast, this book is right there with it. It all ties into it.
Yeah,
the 13th note, art of mastery, all part of this. And this is the part about how we developed Yayu Publishing. We wanted this type of invention of self, if you will. We wanted to work with authors that have things that could share, that could move forward in regards to
make a difference.
Make a difference in people's lives.
Yep.
You can find us, online with YaYuPublishing.com. Every one of us have our own website. She has CatTrollinos.com. I have the 365method.com. So you can find us on anywhere, Facebook, Instagram.
So just go on Amazon, because I'm not going to spell my last name.
No, go to Yayu.com.
Oh, Yayu Publishing. Yeah, Yayu Publishing. Yeah.
.com. There's a bookstore,
books, right?
Yeah, there's a
bookstore.
That's
our bookstore. There. That's the easy. Yayu, love you.
Yeah.
YaYuPublishing.com.
Publishing.com. And it does take you to our, Amazon bookstore.
Yes.
But it's organized.
Yeah. In one place.
And as more stuff we put into more authors and so forth, it's just be so much easier.
And Jeff, do you want to talk about that just briefly? We are always looking for new authors.
Yeah. Well, let's just talk about the upcoming. We have a book coming from Dr. Yan Shen, who was the pianist in the 13th note. She is writing her autobiographical memoir, but she's doing it in Chinese. So we're going to have to basically translate that over to English and other languages, as well as we're working on Miracles Online Portuguese, I believe, right?
Yes.
So we're developing all of our books
and also
in translations.
Audio. In fact, I'd like to take a poll. I know it's gotten more and more popular that some folks, they really only want or have time for audio. So, let us know, give us your feedback if that's something that you're interested. I'm just curious of how many people, would say, no, I need it in an audio. So that's something Jeff and I have been talking about. I've done professional voiceovers in my lifetime. So, I don't need to outlay $3,000 to $5,000 for someone to do the audio, but it just takes time and setting it up and so forth. So I'd be curious to hear about that. I've had a couple of people ask me, hey, when are you going to come out with an audio?
Right.
So
everything's in play. Everything happens so quickly. And it's extremely exciting for all of us, but we have to create, shooting schedules and writing schedules and all those things for us to make sure everything is on time, delivered, and aired for you. And we are always entertaining authors. So like Kat was talking about, just to contact us at Yayu Publishing. And we generally pretty good time response, but right back to you. And we're looking for works that is enhancing, that is artistic, that is positive. This is books that changes lives. That's what we are looking to do.
Books that change lives.
Right.
Yep.
So to wrap this up, this is just basically a get to know you from me. I'm Jeff Spike Wong.
I'm Kat.
Trollinos is what I learned from from Greece when we went to Melambus to see. We literally walk on the grounds of her ancestors.
Right.
Up in the mountains.
My grandfather, Diogenes Trollinos.
Yeah.
Yes. For years I was pronouncing it Trollinos, and my cousin Manny Margaritas, who was very instrumental in getting me directed to where Grandpa came from, what village, et cetera, through these years. He's a couple of years older than I am. And he corrected me on the pronunciation.
Sure.
So you may see things. I have about 110 episodes, Cat's Home Chat, all things home. Started off real estate. You can find that on YouTube. And you'll hear me in those episodes. Primarily, we just do replays now because we don't have time to do new ones. Once in a while we do with a new topic. But you'll hear me pronounce my name, Trilinos. But it's Tralanos. Tralanos.
and like it says, she's got Cat's Home Chat. That's a podcast that we produced and started over 3.5 years ago.
Yeah, it's been that long.
Yeah. So there's over 109 episodes, I believe.
9 or 10.
On YouTube for that. So go check that out. It's an entirely different podcast.
Right.
But here we're very excited to join Redpill Project,
Yes.
Decentralized Media.
Redpill.
We thank Josh Reed for encouraging us and bringing this together and making it fruit. And look out for Miracles Online podcast starting around June 12th, I believe. That's
AKA MOP.
Art of Mastery, the 13th Note podcast interviews in different genres of professionals about their masters, airs on Sundays. And the film, the 20-minute short that has won 17 awards or 9 festivals
17.
around the world,
Wow.
will be also shown. So that way, you can put the film together and kind of get the idea of what we were shooting for, basically, to approach mastery, refinement, greatness. One of the things I want to close by saying that in our world today, we are sorely missing greatness in masters. And this is not just in, let's say, music instruments, pianists, guitar players, and whatnot. This goes beyond.
This is
tool of the trades. We're talking about, how about, someone who is great at doing things such as architecture, landscaping. These are things
Sculpting,
that,
engineering.
it just goes on
gardening.
and on.
Yeah.
The level of masteries on each so-called profession, there's always something that is coming that we can learn from, even though we're not part of that profession. I know I wasn't interested in real estate whatsoever before I married Kat, but once I saw it, I couldn't believe the intricacy, the legalities, the
legalities.
we deal with contracts.
Yeah, lots
so
of moving
much
parts and pieces.
Yeah.
I came in another decade of my life. I came in corporate America from telecommunications world, vastly changing through the 90s, late 80s, 90s, and so forth. But one of the things that I really loved about it was so complex.
Yeah.
There was many moving parts and pieces.
Right.
So it was challenging.
Right.
And I think that was probably the attraction into real estate initially, because again, it was less transactional. I've told you this before. It wasn't,
Sure.
You negotiate for 6 months, flying out to visit clients, and then you lose a multi-million-dollar contract because you couldn't
Right.
cut it by 5 cents a minute or something,
Mhm.
whatever, on their whole network. And so I made a conscious decision. I wanted to get where I'm dealing with people. Remember,
Right.
Mark Benak, what's his name? Our realtor.
Yeah.
Back in California. Yeah. I said,
Mr. Chino
I
Hills.
want to do what he does.
Yeah.
He's dealing with people. He's
Yeah.
telling me how to declutter and how to
Right.
showcase my home, and you're building relationships.
That's
and
right.
so that was the attraction.
And that's really the
it's
key.
building
right there.
relationships.
It's about
It's not transactional.
That's
Yeah.
right. It's not about making the money, but it's
No.
about how can I help you to get what you need and
Exactly.
enhance your life. And that's the beauty of it. And now going into podcasting on a new level and another level, it's extremely exciting for us. So like I said, tune in June. We're going to do weekdays, Tuesday through Thursday, and then Saturday for Miracles Online podcast. Sunday, the Art of Mastery
Wow.
with the 13th Note podcast. And that I've got some people that's lined up coming in. That's going to be fantastic. Meantime, the ones that's already aired, you can find on Redpill Media. Ned Evett, the fretless guitarist, special extraordinaire. He's going to be touring with Joe Satriani and Steve Vai this summer, 2025 in England. He is a podcast you should not miss. Joe Zeller, the pitching guru. Of course, that's fantastic.
And of course, these are all interests that he has, fabulous interest in, of course, but we'd love to hear from you if you or someone would like to share your juju of your mastery in any topic or genre.
Yeah.
We would love to hear from you.
Just to even say this, that there is a master plumber.
Yes.
You have to become so.
Oh, you know one.
I do know.
Oh my goodness.
So
on the podcast.
Mastery comes on so many levels.
It does. And you know what? It's wonderful. It's beautiful because we need mastery in everything, in big truck drivers, in making what do you call it? Highways and bridges. Can you imagine? Engineering a bridge.
Yeah, and I play ball with an engineer that builds our roadways. How about that?
Do?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I play baseball with a couple of captains.
Yeah. Pilot captain.
So all walks of life, they're all great individuals, all great at what they do. So I would like to know their stories. And that's how the Art of Mastery podcast has started to develop away from just the musician aspect of it.
Absolutely.
And I'm extremely excited.
And I'm excited to see the dots connect because I you read lots of things, pontifications and so forth. Oh, successful people do these 5 things, really, they probably do more and or differently. But I do know that, that saying, and you've heard me say it before, how you do one thing is how you do all things.
That's right.
That's kind of it in a nutshell. And I don't care if you're, a plumber or, a Michelangelo.
That's right.
You have that level of excellence, not perfection, but excellence.
The greatness of it.
Greatness. Yeah. That we can all learn from. Yeah. We can all learn from that. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So wrapping it up, make sure you go to Yahoo Publishing, YAYUpublishing.com. Check us out. Buy our books because it helps us to stay on the air so we can bring you more content. Absolutely. And with that, support us, like and subscribe. Anytime you see our podcast, share it with your friends. We want to grow a community of thrive and inspire.
Absolutely.
And that is our key. So with that being said, Miracles Online coming in June. Art of Mastery 13th Note podcast on Sundays, all on Redpill Media, Decentralized Media.
And June 12th?
Yeah, I believe June 12th is coming up. And then our books, Career Kids, It's Fun to Be a Musician, True Confession of a Stagepreneur, right?
Stagepreneur.
And then, of course,
Stagerpreneur.
And then, of course, everybody already who's on Redpill seen this, which is my 365.
Yep.
And I want to thank everybody for taking time out. And it's great to introduce ourselves to you. And we hope to see you on our next podcast.
Until then.
Oh.
Oops, didn't mean to do that. Until then, bye. I didn't mean to hit the mic. You can edit that out.